Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. What a freaking day we had. Wow, JP Morgan, MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor. There's a lot to unpack that happened from last week Monday to this week Monday. I'm super freaking bullish on everything, honestly. We see major discounts in the market, and everything is turning out to be really, really good. And so I have a lot of interesting things to cover here. The main story today will be banks versus Bitcoin. Yes, it's JP Morgan versus strategy, maybe it's JP Morgan versus Bitcoiners, whatever it is essentially Bitcoin versus banks. So this we will cover today. So first and foremost, every single time we do this in the first to actually track where we are in this time frame of the Bitcoin world, of the world that we're living in. We have today the block height currently is 925,015. That was a weird way of saying a number. 925,015 is the current block height in Bitcoin. We have a current exchange rate of Bitcoin of $87,187 US, which gives us, for just $1 we get 1,148 satoshis. Isn't that crazy? We get for just $1. When I remember just a few weeks ago, we got only 700, 800 satoshis for $1. Now, for just one simple small US dollar, we are getting a whopping 1,148 US. So this is amazing, really cool. Welcome you all to come here to the Monday live stream. Let's get into this topic. We have unfortunately we have Operation Choke Point 2.0. As Senator Cynthia Lummis says, this was just, I think, an hour or 2 hours ago. I just saw it randomly before hopping on the stream. I saw that Operation Choke Point 2.0 regrettably lives on. Policies like JP Morgan's undermine confidence in traditional banks and send the digital asset industry overseas. It's past time we put Operation Choke Point 2.0 to rest to make America the digital asset capital of the world. And here we see in the headline, JP Morgan Chase ends banking ties with Strike CEO. And yes, we will also talk about Mullers. We will also talk about what he is doing, really, really cool stuff. Ends banking ties with Strike CEO, rekindling crypto debanking concerns. JP Morgan Chase move has renewed scrutiny of all alleged anti-crypto debanking despite a Trump order banning the practice. And this is really interesting when we think about that. We think about what's going on in the Bitcoin world, what's going on in crypto world. There is a lot of concerns that Bitcoiners still have about getting debanked. I know I opened a Bitcoin podcasting business and also a Bitcoin business with Microseed here that has ties towards Bitcoin, even though it's just a stamping kit, so it can be used for any passwords or anything like that. And I got the advice from a lot of people saying, don't do it. Don't do the name of the company with Bitcoin. If you have in the name of the company Bitcoin, you will get scrutiny from the banks. You will get banned. You get all the weird things. And so this is something where I'm like, what is happening? If we as Bitcoiners have to hide our identity from banks, then we are not winning. And actually, I want to get to that because I think there's those four phases. And the phases are: first, they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. And I really, really think then we are still in the phase of then they fight you. By the way, if you're seeing that on YouTube or Twitter, just leave me a quick comment here. I usually get comments around that time. So just to make sure everything is running smoothly. If you hear me, if you see me, hopefully I did not make any mistakes. Yeah, great. Awesome. Have a small confirmation that my stream is still on. Really cool. Hi. Oh wait. Oh, I did not see. I did not activate the comments. Now here we are. Hi Matt, how you doing? Everything fine on your end? Also Sandy is back here. Great to see you guys. Now I got the confirmation that everything's running good. And I want to talk about that. By the way, I think Saylor is a freaking legend. He's posting here. Share this tab instead. He's posting here, I won't back down. I put it also in the thumbnail. I found it hilarious that he is putting that in there, because if you think about it, what happened, what we are currently witnessing is, because we already kind of thought everything is good news, everything is really strong, everything is kind of running its own course, and now we can kind of relax and see everything playing out. But the reality is, Bitcoin is still a very small asset. We are under $2 trillion market cap, I think, with the recent dip, or maybe around the $2 trillion market cap. This is a very small asset compared to the real estate market, to even gold and all the other things. And so we need warriors on all different stages. And I know Saylor gets a lot of grab from different places, because he's like Wall Street. He's even talking about crypto now. He's also talking those things. But we need on many different places, many different warriors that defend Bitcoin, the network in itself. And JP Morgan and other banks, they are if they are attacking us, this is an attack on Bitcoin directly. And of course, we don't want to have to do anything with Bitcoin, with banking. We don't want to have anything to do with the traditional financial space. We want to build our own thing. But the reality is, we have a way smoother journey towards that if we have the banks on board, if we have to TradFair on board, and slowly move towards that. And then maybe there are things like Bitcoin banks that can help us in any way, shape, or form. So now it's a lot that has been happening. So let's dial it back a little bit. What actually has been happening? I want to just bring that quickly as a picture point in there. We had in the beginning, last week, we had rumors that MSCI wants to no longer include crypto treasuries. I don't think they really talked specifically about strategy. We also had rumors that Saylor and strategy sold some Bitcoin. And then we also heard rumors, I couldn't find any proof of that, but a lot of people reported on that JP Morgan sold 25% of their strategy position. So all those things together seems like, okay, JP Morgan and MSCI, maybe they're all concluding and attacking strategy, attacking the Bitcoin sector. Now, just to clarify, because I think it's very important what Saylor said here, this is Michael Saylor's, he's the chairman of strategy, obviously, his response to the whole MSCI index matter. And I will just read that out loud, because I think it's very important that we understand what strategy actually is and how they could attack it. And I think we could have a small GameStop moment here. And I'll explain later on why I think that and what actually I mean by that. I found that thought a little bit more in my feeds these days, like actually today, and I want to explain that. But first, let's go into what Saylor is actually saying here. The response to MSCI index strategy is not a fund, not a trust, not a holding company. Obviously, that's not. Like they are an operating business. We are a publicly traded operating company with a $500 million software business and a unique treasury strategy that uses Bitcoin as a productive capital. This year alone, we have completed 5 public offerings of digital credit securities. I don't read them out loud, representing over 7.7 billion in no. It's so crazy when you think about how far strategy has come. They just started with like a treasury treasury of like, what was it, 250 or 500 million in 2020, like really small, and now they are launching products like crazy. We also launched Stretch, a revolutionary Bitcoin-backed treasury credit instrument, all of that. Funds and trusted passive holds assets. Holding companies sit on investments. We create, structure, issue, and operate. Our team is building a new kind of enterprise, a Bitcoin-backed structure finance company with the ability to innovate in both capital markets and software. No business, passive vehicle or holding company could do what we are doing. Index classification doesn't define us. Our strategy is long-term. Our conviction is in Bitcoin is unwavering. Our mission remains unchanged: to build the world's first digital monetary institution on a foundation of sound money and financial innovation. And this is really interesting when you think about that. What can strategy really do? What are they providing? What service, what product they're doing? And they have a huge operating business that in itself would declassify as like, oh, it's just a holding company of a bunch of Bitcoin, because they have a huge publicly operating profitable business. But then also what they're doing with Stretch and Strike and Stride and all of those things, they are actively managing them and finding new ways. So I'm still in the early days of my strategy research journey, as I mentioned last week, actually. But I do not think that they will be kicked out of any indexes. Now, I don't know. I could be wrong. They can rewrite rules. Those are the indexes. They can make that happen. But I don't think that this actually is what's happening. Now, as promised, I want to come to what actually Jack Mallers mentioned, the Strike CEO, as he has been on what was it? Yahoo Finance. I will show this to you guys. I, as always, forgot to share the right tab. Here we are.
In Bitcoin specifically, you had the JP Morgan CEO and chairman Jamie Dimon calling it essentially pet rock, and once again calling into question its worth and its value here. I would love to get your reaction, especially as some of the financial industry elites and figureheads are continuing to cast some doubt here.
Yeah, it's the same way as like asking the DVD player shops, like, what are you thinking about Netflix? it's crazy for me that we still have to think about. So this is besides that video, it's like a whole different point I want to just make quickly, because when you think about any revolution within an industry, no matter if that's the taxi industry and you have Uber coming out of there, or you have other innovations within an industry, think about the guy that sold horses when the car came around, the guy that sold horses when the tractor came around. Those people would always say, no, it's too dangerous, the car, like nobody can drive them, it's not safe to use them, they're not sustainable, they will kill our environment, they will kill all the things. Like, if you noticed what they have been said about past innovation, it's the same thing all over again. They said the same thing about tractors and cars as they say on the internet, as they say on AI, as they say on Bitcoin. It's always the same thing. And we always asked the salesperson of the horse what they think about the car. That's the wrong guy to ask. That's literally the only person you shouldn't ask. And asking Jamie Dimon on his thoughts on Bitcoin is as helpful as asking the guy that sells the horse what he thinks about cars. Obviously, his opinion does not matter because he is not a car salesman. He's a horse salesman. And Jamie Dimon is the horse salesman, and you don't want to hear about the horse salesman when he talks about cars. But now the funny reaction of Jack Mallers.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brad. What do I think about Jeffrey Epstein's banker being concerned that a distributed, decentralized, open public money could potentially be used for bad things, sitting on a ski resort in Davos? I don't really care.
Yes, exactly. This is the thing that we always need to remember. This is disrupting all banks. This is disrupting the whole thing that the banks and the elites and the central banks and the whole financial institution, the whole TradFi thing that has been there for decades and decades. They have been building that so nicely up. And now Bitcoin is challenging this very thing. Obviously, they will not like it. I have it every day in the intro song that banks step aside. Bitcoin is now here, something like that. And this is so important to understand that Bitcoin doesn't need the permission of banks. They don't need the permission of governments. They don't need the permission of central banks. They will have, if a bank or government or any institution in TradFi wants to stay relevant, they have to. They have to adopt Bitcoin. And so what we think of like, oh, what does JP Morgan, what does Jamie Dimon think of that? Who cares? Who cares? It's great if banks come on board. It's great if all those institutions come on board and actually adopt Bitcoin, because in that way, if they adopt it and we actually have a smooth transition to Bitcoin, this is a great thing, because then we can actually, without those civil war things, without the Bitcoiners being debanked, and without all those weird things being like the horse salesman has so much money that he can lobby in the government, in the banking, in the government, so that the car has it worse off. I mean, the same way, I just remember that because I researched that a couple of months ago. Tesla had to fight to actually sell cars direct to consumers, to get the massive thing of car dealerships off. The car dealership network was so strong, they didn't let anyone direct to consumer. And now, because of Tesla, it's possible to have direct-to-consumer sales. And so in any industry, whenever you have an evolution or a revolution, no matter how big or small it is, the dealership thing is rather small compared to Bitcoin, obviously, but it shows that the incumbent system will always fight as long as possible. And so this is really, really important to note. So let's quickly see some comments here, because I think there are some comments coming in. Saylor channeling his inner Tom Petty. Who's Tom Petty? Do you guys know who Tom Petty is? The government and banks aren't for the people. Wake up! Yes, exactly. This is the main thing to remember. They if you think the banks is just here to make your great life and like they just want to give you the financial tools to empower you and all of that, no. Sorry, wake up. Big whale games, will they get smashed against the hard asset in the world? I don't believe. This is a whole different topic, but yes, there is market manipulation always going on. There is big players that can move markets. They have so many Bitcoins, they have so many whatever shares of whatever company, that they can move that company or that Bitcoin price or like whatever up and down. Let's remember what in 2021 happened. 2021, Elon Musk came into the game of Tesla, and of Bitcoin, and he said he will buy Bitcoin. You can now buy a Tesla with Bitcoin and all of those great things. The stock price went up like crazy on that day, in that week, like really crazy. I was back then, I was actually reporting on Bitcoin on my Instagram story only, didn't have a YouTube, didn't have anything else. I reported on Instagram. I remember every single day it just went up. And then 2 weeks later, he was like, oh, is it bad for an environment? Oh, well, what is happening? And so when you actually think about that, the only thing it did was when he came in, it went up, and then he went out, and it fell back to the same level that it was before. And this is the richest man at that point in time, and he's still the richest man right now. He can manipulate the price, obviously. if the federal chairman Jerome Powell tomorrow says on an interview, the Fed will buy Bitcoin and sell gold, you better believe that the Bitcoin price will rip massively. And so 100% big players can move in the short and maybe even in the medium term the Bitcoin price up and down. But who cares? If it goes down, it's a great buying opportunity. If it goes up, you have more purchasing power. And so short term, yes, they can. Long term, nobody can. Nobody has enough money to long term manipulate the Bitcoin price. And yes, we see now already a little bit of the institutional money being into Bitcoin, and this can dampen the price to the upside and downside. So for example, if a lot of institutions are into Bitcoin and they have their rules of like, we only hold 5% of Bitcoin, or we only hold 10% of Bitcoin, or only hold 2% of Bitcoin, if Bitcoin price shoots up, then they have to rebalance. So if Bitcoin price shoots up so much that instead of the 2% allocation, they now have a 4% allocation, they have to sell now a part and redistribute to the other assets. The same way, if it goes down to 1%, they have to buy more Bitcoin to rebalance their portfolio. And so institutions in general bring a different kind of game towards Bitcoin. They bring a different kind of price movements to Bitcoin. Price is just supply and demand at the end of the day. And 2015, Bitcoin was bought and sold by very different people than it is now bought and sold by, because now the institutions, the companies, bigger treasury companies are here. And so when you think about that, obviously Bitcoin moves differently. That's why we see a different price movement now than we saw in 2013, 12, and 15. So yeah, they eventually get squeezed. If you play with Bitcoin long enough, you will get squeezed out of your game 100%. So 100% agreed. They play their games short term, but long term, they are just like not screwed, but like if they play bad against Bitcoin, eventually they will be. We do not need indices, just we do not need fiat. If Bitcoin wins, strategy wins 100%. We always think about, is the risk of strategy being outthrown of that index? Obviously, that would put a massive damp on strategy short term, but long term, Bitcoin wins, strategy wins at some point. I think it's accurate to say Bitcoin is not peer-to-peer cash system anymore. It's digital gold. It's both. And peer-to-peer cash is a tricky one, because if you really need, if you think about peer-to-peer cash, what this really means. Yes, if you think you need peer-to-peer cash on the main layer, on Bitcoin, the base layer, yes, it will be hard to incorporate everyone, because right now, if I transact with someone on the internet and transact Bitcoin directly, it will be kind of expensive after some time. Right now, it's really low. Like I pay like 50 cents, $1, sometimes $2 for a transaction of like $1,000. This is not a lot, but eventually those transaction fees, which will actually rise. And then we need Lightning, then we need layer 2. So yeah, Bitcoin, the base layer, is maybe not peer-to-peer cash, but I do think Bitcoin, the whole ecosystem and the cash payment system will be built out, and it will be Bitcoin only. We don't need another token. We don't need another network. It's just Bitcoin, then layer 2s, and all of the rest of it. Let's see on. Robin, always positive. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a hopeless optimist. That's for sure. And so let's move on with the actual story today, because I think strategy versus JP Morgan is really interesting one. And as we've seen with Jack Mallers, here he had, I thought it was so interesting, Jack Mallers framed a JP Morgan Chase closure letter. You don't see that. Now you see it. Just in from Simple Bitcoin, Jack Mallers framed the JP Morgan Chase account closure letter they sent him, which is a giga chat move. Like that's really cool. And the thing that can happen now with the whole JP Morgan Chase and the strategy thing is really interesting, because I think there's a tiny chance. The chance is not huge at this point. It might get bigger, but there's a tiny chance that strategy might get to have a GameStop moment. Because I heard, I haven't found any verification or proof of that, but you probably can find it. I heard that they have a massive short position, and there are a bunch of people that have a massive short position on strategy. Now, if this whole thing, strategy versus JP Morgan, gets to be a bigger story, and the internet kind of catches on and says like, hey, it's strategy versus the banks, then I think we have a realistic chance that it catches on enough that people say like, we want a strategy to completely liquidate all the shorts. I mean, long term, it will do that anyways, because they have such a huge first move advantage and a profitable business model. So they are way stronger than GameStop, as I think, at least. So this it could get really interesting thinking about this whole thing. Now, I did some digging and I found this old video from the Bitcoin therapist. Back in, when was it? Back in 2023, he posted it, and he said the following thing. I want to show it to you guys. Here it is. This reveals how they think about it. This reveals how JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, all banks, all chases, all the banks, not only in America, but especially also in the EU, are thinking about Bitcoin. Remember, this clip is from 2015, when the Bitcoin price was around $400. And it's funny. There is some background noise, so just ignore that. I don't know if this is real or they just made it so they don't get banned or anything like that. But yes, hear it out.
You're wasting your time.
So you think they
When the DOJ calls someone up and says that's an illegal currency and it's against the laws of the United States of land, if you do it again, we'll put you in jail, it's over.
So you really
There's no issue. There will be, this is my personal opinion, there will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
I love whoever, because I don't think there is the actual audience in there. So I whoever put that the laughing audience in there, amazing. And that's how they think. They're like, there can never be a not controlled currency in the world, which is crazy to think about. Think about that. Like, first of all, I wonder if he really truly believes that this is the best for the world. I think so. Like, he is so deep into the water. There's this analogy, I think you probably all heard about it. When you are a fish in the water and you pass by another fish, the fish says, oh, the water is nice today. And the fish says, what water? And so the same with bankers, the same with Jamie Dimon, the same with all the bankers. They don't know they're that deep in the water. They don't know that they are so deep into that financial system. They don't even know like what the possibility of Bitcoin is. And so now that's why they are saying, hey,
there's no government that's going to put up with it for long. It's kind of cute now. You know, a lot of the senators in Congress will say, I support Silicon Valley innovation. There will be no currency that gets around government control.
And this is the thing. When you remember back what here Saylor says, I won't back down. And then here, the first one of the first replies here, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. We are not yet at that, then they win. Choke point 2.0 is not over yet. I still today got the recommendation of some businessman in Austria, like saying, don't use Bitcoin in your business name. Just don't do it. And as long as it's, and I also always try to figure out, okay, is it a problem for banks that I have a lot of money coming in and directly going into Bitcoin exchanges? Yes, it is. They see that account. I don't know. Have I ever said that? I recently, not recently, a long time ago actually, I was in a job. I worked actually in Germany for a company in Austria for 1 year. So I lived actually in Germany there, and I had a bank account. The bank account was my main bank account where all the money came in, and as much as possible went directly to Bitcoin at that time. It was, I think 2022 was the timing there. I already started a little bit tweeting. And the first day on my job at my employer that I was already for like 3 years, but now there was a new company in Germany that we built together. So I was kinda the CEO there, not really, but kinda. So not the operating one, but the unofficial one, because I was still in training. And I remember my first paycheck did not arrive, and I was like, I did it myself. Like I looked at the bank thing, I saw the thing going out, but then we called the bank, and the bank said, yes, sorry, we didn't let that transaction through because we flagged that bank account. It's on a blacklist. And I was like, why? Like, why is it on a blacklist? They couldn't say. And I never did anything illegal. I never did anything wrong. The only thing I did with this bank account is buy normal groceries and buy Bitcoin. And so the only thing that they could have blacklisted me is the Bitcoin. And so they called, the actual CEO called, was like, hey, yeah, like this is his actual bank account, please put it through. And after that, there was no more problems. And there's like small stories like that. I heard stories like that. I heard on my podcast so often. You don't even believe how often you hear those stories. And then you just have to say, unfortunately, we are still in then they fight you stage. We are not over yet. We have to keep fighting. We need the soldiers in the TradFi. We need the soldiers in the politician area. We need the soldiers on the internet. We need the soldiers on the get-togethers. It is so important. I cannot reiterate. It is so important that we are protecting Bitcoin on a grassroots movement level. And so you going to a local meetup, you going to a conference, you just being on Twitter and defending Bitcoin there, you being there and helping the network is so, so, so important. And even if you don't need to show your real name. You can just do it as an anon account. It's super easy. You can do it in Nostr. You can do it in Twitter. You can do it wherever you feel good. But it's so important that we have people that fight for Bitcoin on a small level. I do not believe that this fight is over, and the worst might just be to come, even though Bitcoin is already very strong and powerful, as we see. And I think the reaction to this whole thing is also great. And now we come to the strength of why Bitcoin is so strong. We have here now exactly this one. This is what I wanted to show you guys. Simply Bitcoin, developing huge numbers of users are reportedly rushing to close accounts at JP Morgan after the bank's attack on Strategy. It's targeting of Bitcoiners and its latest data leak. Actions have consequences. And then we even have people, really strong people like Grant Cardone that say, I canceled my JP Morgan account and moved entire account to Wells Fargo. I think Wells Fargo is, I don't know the American banks that good. Also, don't use Chase credit card if you're worried about fraud. More to come. Boycott JP Morgan, close your account, move your money, tell your friends. This is huge. Like we have now huge amounts of people that basically want to make the banks disappear. We have more and more people that say this is not correct, this is not good to do. And every small thing that the banks are doing, every small detail they are saying, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, it's pissing off the wrong community. It's pissing off the Bitcoin community. It's pissing off the freedom community. It's pissing off the investment community and the sovereignty community. And this is just saying that we will be fighting back against this thing. And so I don't know. This is I thought it was really strong how the whole community kind of went in there and had a really, really strong, how should I say it, a really strong reaction to that. Now, I have one more thing. I have to pull it up. I forgot to put it in my tweets here, but I will show this to you later. Now, let's quickly go through the comments here. Yes, I also think Mahler's got got balls. The average on-chain transaction is around. Oh, really? I didn't look that up. The average on-chain transaction is around $1 million. That's crazy. That's really cool. This conflict between Saylor and the banks will tell us how much power the banks still have. This is very true, actually, an interesting take, because we will see how strong the banks still are, because the Bitcoiners are already in Washington, D.C. We cannot forget that. Now we have the president and we have senators, we have on all different political levels, we have people fighting for Bitcoin. And I always say, like, people say bad things about Saylor, people say bad things about the politicians, and I agree. Like, I only want Bitcoin to succeed and be as freedom, as sovereign as possible. But we need those people to actually fight for our freedom on different levels. So Bitcoin will be successful no matter what. No matter what comes from JP Morgan, like any strategy, indexes, MSCI World, no matter what comes out of there, even if they really say, hey, this and that, Bitcoin will win in the end. But the question is, how nice, how smooth will be the whole transition towards there? I'm not sure if it will be extremely smooth. I thought as soon as I saw Trump got elected and how positive Trump is, I thought we have a decent chance that it will be very smooth. But hey, maybe in 3 years' time, the Blues are back in Washington. Maybe there's a different administration. Maybe it gets bad again. Like, we don't know. I hope not, but we don't know. And so we have to keep fighting. And that's why self-custody is so important. I only promote things that is with self-custody connected, that has the sovereignty with us, the people, no matter if it's simple mining, you can conduct your own node. The Bitcoin way is doing the self-custody thing. Microseed is a self-custody device. Relay will soon come. They are also completely self-custodial. So everything I do is focused on self-custody, because this is the only way to really defend yourself in whatever time comes. Maybe it's just smooth sailing from here. Maybe all this goes out of the window and everything will be amazing. But maybe not. And so to prepare yourself the best way, make sure you run your own node, you do self-custody and all of those things, because you might need it. You might not need it, but you might need it. And this security aspect is always, I worked at an IT security company before actually I now do work in Bitcoin. And I know for a fact, you always think it's all good till it's not. Our best clients were those that were previously hacked just a couple of weeks before. Those were the people that all of a sudden had security budgets, all of a sudden really wanted to figure out how to make their websites, their infrastructure, and all of that safer. Before that, before security incident happens, people are like, it happens, but not to us. We have a great system. Like, I'm not an attack vector. Like, people don't, like, all of those things we always say to each other. but at some point you become the attack vector. Even if you're completely anonymous, even if nobody knows that you have Bitcoin, maybe you're on some list, maybe there's some KYC thing going on, maybe anything, and all of a sudden you're an attack vector, and all of a sudden you are in trouble. And so having self-custodial Bitcoin is super, super important. And this is the biggest way you can say F you to the banks. This is the best and easiest way to actually do that. So very true. This will show us how it is currently standing with the people. Wells Fargo, just as bad. Yeah, I have no clue. But 100%, it's another bank. I don't know if it's better. So let's see. Greetings from sunny Bratton, Florida. Hey, Jeff. Nice to see you live. I think I saw you first time live. I always see your comments in the videos. Man, you're so consistent with your comments. I love it. Thank you so much for supporting. Become your own central bank, 100%. Financial sovereignty or nothing else. This is so important. And so, one more thing I really wanted to get into today was the whole thing about full-year cycle. And before I get into that, I have to pull that up here. Let's copy that. By the way, if you like live, leave a like here, because 2026, this channel might be very different and might be everything live with guests and everything direct. So if you're a fan of live with replay, of course, with podcast, of course, this is huge. It's a lot more fun for me. So I'll probably do very soon a live only strategy. Not fully there yet. I'm not announcing it yet, but I love live. I love interacting with you guys. Now, we have to look at one more thing before we end up here, because it's very important to look at what's happening with the full-year cycle. We have here the Bitcoin price. This is the Bitcoin price on today, and yeah, we have been up and down. Interesting enough, we have this usual full-year cycle of 3 years up, 1 year down. So 4-year Bitcoin cycle. Let's see if we find a great image for that, just so I can quickly show this to you guys. Yes. This is not a great image. Oh, man. I forgot to prepare that, man. Let's see. Do we have it here? I don't think we have it here. Do we have it here? Let's see. I can't find it right now, but basically how it goes, it's 3 years up, 1 year down. So whenever Bitcoin moves, it moves in cycles the past years. And this year was supposed to be a major up year. This year was supposed to be a really, really strong year for Bitcoin. And now we have year to date, obviously a downfall of 6.6%, which isn't huge. And it's actually a quite healthy thing for Bitcoin to do, to go some down, to de-lever the whole thing, to have not as much leverage position in there, because I thought it gets kind of leveraged already, because people are saying like, hey, like 120,000, let's leverage, let's buy as many Bitcoin as possible. And I was like, I don't know if that's such a good idea. And then we now obviously had the down cycle. I think we are 30% from the all-time high. Let's see, what was the all-time high here? Was this the all-time high? 123,000. At least at Google it was 30%. So we are like 30% down from the all-time high. Now, if we stay at those levels, if we stay for the rest of the year at those levels, which is perfectly fine and absolutely possible, gives us some more opportunity to stack. Again, lower Bitcoin price means more Satoshis per US dollar, as I say also in the beginning. This could then mean that this Fourier cycle already breaks within the next, like, what is it, 36 days, 37 days? What do we have in 2025 left? This would be, for me, kind of huge. And here I found Saylor's take on the Fourier cycle. If you see that, Michael Saylor does not believe in the cycle theory and emphasizes that large financial players decide on the development of BTC. If JP Morgan, interesting enough, he talked about JP Morgan here. This was before, this was recorded, I think, 2 weeks before, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or something like that. If JP Morgan issues loans worth 10 or 100 billion US dollars against Bitcoin, that will overshadow the Fourier cycle. And so what I also saw in his main thesis from Saylor is like, at some point in the Fourier cycle, someone will say, hey, I'll just sell earlier and buy earlier. And so more and more people thinking the Fourier cycle will happen, the more likely it is for the Fourier cycle to actually not happen, because people are like, hey, it will sell off now, so let me sell earlier. And then Bitcoin goes down earlier. That is something that already maybe could have happened right now. That is maybe why OGs are selling. Maybe OGs are like, hey, it's at 110,000, it's at 120,000. Maybe I just sell a little bit earlier, so I have a higher level, and then next year it is fine. So selling earlier or buying earlier is also a thing where people are trying to outdo the cycle. But let's see what Saylor says to the Fourier cycle, because I think it's interesting.
Oh, you think Bitcoin goes in the cycle right here? If it goes any lower, where does it go?
I think it's pretty stable where it is right now. Yeah. I mean, most of the liquidation selling is out of the system. I think we should rally from here.
And then where do you think it ends?
I don't believe in 4-year cycles anyway. I mean,
I never believed in the 4-year cycle.
I think that they might have had some credence in the first 12 years, but
by the way, if you haven't seen it, the energy between Michael Saylor and Grant Cardone was fun to witness. So I had both of them already on my podcast. You can watch the video with Saylor and with Grant Cardone was a lot of fun talking with them. But the strategy, the energy between those two were kind of fun here and there.
Right now, the 4-year cycle is somehow based on the idea that 225 Bitcoin a day get taken out of the supply after the next halving. That's $22 million or $20 million of buying. Trust me, $20 million of buying. The market traded 100 billion yesterday. 20 million is not even a third order issue at this point.
Yeah.
The dynamics in the market are much more that,
yeah, and this is a good point, but also the Fourier cycle does not only happen because the supply and demand dynamics of the halving. This might just be, a coincidence. It's actually interesting because I recently talked about that on a podcast with someone else, where this Fourier cycle maybe has everything to do with the halving, and maybe it has nothing at all to do with the halving. Because if you think about it, what the Fourier cycle might just happen because it happens. It might just happen because people are used to that, and people started or something else happened always in those areas. We had massive liquidity events that always happened at the Fourier cycles. We had the presidential election. We had all of those things. So it might just not be that the halving itself was the real trigger for the Fourier cycles, what was just something else, maybe. And another good point of this, what Saylor just brought in, is the halving doesn't really have a huge kind of impact now. It's like a kind of a non-thing. Most Bitcoin that will ever be mined are already mined. We had 19 million, almost 20 million Bitcoin mined. That's almost all of them. So there's not a lot of inflation happening anyways, and so the little inflation that comes on top of Bitcoin doesn't make a huge kind of a difference on the whole thing.
Jerome Powell thinks he wants to hold interest rates higher for longer, right? It's macroeconomics, it's political, it's structural. when IBIT's derivatives market went from 10 billion to 50 billion, it did that in 4 weeks. I mean, so those kind of things, when JP Morgan, offers 10 or 100 billion dollars of loans against Bitcoin, that will dwarf the 4-year cycle. It's the actions of the mega finance actors that are determining the future of Bitcoin right now. And all the fundamentals are good. So my advice to anybody is, first of all, if you make decisions with a 12-month or less time frame, you're a trader.
Yeah.
If you're a trader, you're a trader. I have zero advice for you.
Right.
I'm not a trader. I'm not a good trader.
Yeah.
I don't purport to be. I have zero advice for you. On the other hand, if you're an entrepreneur or if you're an investor, you should have a time frame of 4 years or longer.
And this is the main thing. And I have one more thing for you guys before I go. Then I have to quickly go. This is the major thing. If you are, and he says under 1 year you're a trader, I think everything under 5 years is a trader. So for me, if you have a time horizon to invest in something under 5 years, you are a trader. Like you don't really want to be in this asset, in this investment vehicle, whatever it is, for the long run. So everything under 5 years is for me like, oh yeah, like I don't think you have a long enough time horizon. For me, it actually starts at 10 years. So if you cannot bring up a nice theory of like why you are into Bitcoin or whatever you are into for the next 10 years, you most likely will be washed out at some point, or you will most likely make a huge mistake at some point. And so this is a massive issue with a lot of people because they will be washed out at some point. And yeah, this is that's why you have to build conviction. I think, and I told this in a recent stream also, if Bitcoin price goes down and you really, really, really get fearful, you get a doubt in your mind of saying like, maybe Bitcoin is not what I thought it is. Should I really put like more money in there? Maybe what if it goes further down? Maybe I should cover some losses and all of those things. If those are the things happening in your brain, it just shows you that you need to dive deeper into Bitcoin. You haven't done all the education that you need to do. You need to build the conviction as strong as possible so that no news and nothing can throw you off your game. Now, the other thing is, if there's new information arising that change your thesis, then it's fair to cover losses, to do all those things. Now, with Bitcoin, it's very different because I don't think there is such a thing as like new news arising outside of it not being decentralized and secure. So as long as Bitcoin stays decentralized and secure, it will always be the strongest asset, the strongest player in the market. And so it's very, very, very important that you build your thesis out, that you build your conviction through education, through going deeper and going far beyond where the average investor, the average guy goes. The average guy and the average investor don't go that deep. They read a few headlines, they see someone talking on the internet about something, they maybe have a friend that is already in that asset, they maybe have someone that is in Bitcoin, and then they go, oh yeah, like that's a good idea, I should invest there. And then after some times, there is a downfall coming. There is something happening with that asset. Maybe there's some news coming out. Maybe there's something happening on whatever scale. All of a sudden, they're getting scared. All of a sudden, they're saying, what if it's not a good idea? What if I'm wrong? What if he's wrong? Because they haven't built enough conviction and education, they will be swapped out. And this dip, this small, tiny, mini tip, is the proof that people are scared and people didn't build enough conviction. Otherwise, we wouldn't have so much fear and so much doubt in our markets right now. It is extremely important. It is the bear markets. It is the downfalls, the crashes, where you see who actually build conviction and who's just here for a quick buck. You see that 100%. You see that on the podcaster and influencer level. If we have, I'll make a major prediction. If we have a major downturn in the market, a major downturn in the market, like we have a crash to like 50,000 and it's sustainable over the long run. So we have a longer crash that we have around 50,000, 40,000, 60,000 levels for like a year, or maybe even like 1.5 years. If we have that, you will see a lot of your favorite influencers, a lot of your favorite podcasters, a lot of your favorite content creators go bye-bye. They don't have the conviction. They don't have the stamina to go through a bear market. Now, granted, I haven't proven myself too. Ever since I'm doing my podcast, ever since I'm doing content creation, the market basically gone up. And so if you think about it, since I'm here, and that's why I shouldn't speak too loud, but since I'm here, since like January 2023, it's gone up massively. Bitcoin has done over 4x. I've been blessed with a lot of great things. I've been in Bitcoin since 2020, but as a content creator, I've only been since about 3 years now, and the market only has gone up in that time. So you'll see a lot of. I love bear markets because it washes out all the people that don't have the stamina, that don't have the conviction, that don't have the education, that were not disciplined enough in the bull market. You have to be disciplined enough in the bull market so you can make it through the bear market. So really, really cool. As D80 says, diamond hands are forged in the heat of fire. Or how Labels Texas is effing legends, 100%. Bitcoin is funky. What does funky mean? How is Bitcoin funky? Sounds like you just described the bear market loss. Yes, I just described the bear market. Could be so. Tourist, yes. I actually posted that meme up recently, I think on YouTube and maybe also on Twitter, that there are those OGs and there are the high conviction people, and then there are the tourists. And maybe let's let the OGs out of the picture. There are high conviction people and there are tourists. The tourists are basically the traders. They come in and out. They buy high, they sell low, they do all those things. They look at technical analysis charts. They're like, where is Bitcoin going next? What is happening? They never make it. There's nobody that I know of that is in the top hundreds of richest people alive that is on that top because of day trading. Everyone built a long-term conviction about an idea, about a company, about a strategy, and then goes up there for the long run. I love Bake Nerd said, I love bear markets too. It's time to relax and daydream about being rich. That's freaking hilarious. 100%. This is that was hilarious. Really, really cool. I have one more thing. I saw it today. I read it today, and I want to show it to you. I think I say since like 20 minutes. I have one more thing, but I have actually. This is the last thing I want to show you. This is really interesting. Stick around. This is also from Saylor, and I thought it was really, really cool. This is just a tweet of Mrs. Hodl about strategy is not FTX and all of that things. Obviously, strategy is not FTX, but this is not what I wanted to show you guys. I found that clip that she posted really interesting, and I want to show you because it revealed a lot of the things that I haven't heard from Saylor telling in any other story or in any other interview, and it was kind of interesting seeing him with Peterson together.
The company is perfectly fine company, but we're, a company growing 1%, 2%, 3%, 4% a year is uninteresting to every professional investor in the capital markets. and we've tried everything under the sun, and we cannot break free, and our employees are paid in stock options, and the stock's not going anywhere, right? And so I am at a dead end there, very frustrated, my wit's end. And then Michael Saylor, the individual, occasionally buys some Apple and Amazon stock, and he's made a fortune. And I'm thinking, this is not good.
Why is it not good though? Like, because because I want to dig into that a little bit. You had a company that was growing moderately, let's say. It wasn't spectacularly interesting. There were stock problems, but the company is quite functional and it's doing quite well and it does its thing well. And then as an individual, you've made these like home run investments. So what is it that's dissatisfying you exactly?
What's dissatisfying is to think that you peaked 10 years earlier, you've hit a plateau, and you cannot, cannot go any further.
I see. So it's a plateaued adventure.
Right?
And this is what Saylor is actually describing. I heard him say that actually on my podcast. He was almost sentimental at the last question, because I asked him the question. What did I ask him? I asked him the question. I want to get that right. I asked him the question, what is the most valuable thing that you have that you cannot buy for money? And he said a mission. And he described how he was already ready to retire. He was already ready to say goodbye to everything and said, I'm no longer in this. And you guys can take over. He already had his retirement planned out and all of that things. He went into detail on that. And then Bitcoin came along, and now he's all of a sudden going on world tour. He's on in Abu Dhabi speaking on stage. He's in Prague speaking on stage. He's in Miami speaking on stage, in Las Vegas speaking on stage. And he's going on all those podcasts because he back all of a sudden had a reasoning again. He had a mission again, and he described it here where he said there was nothing going on, and he even said he was like, maybe I'm the reason. Maybe I have to get someone young and new in there to reform the company, because the company was only growing a little bit. But he picked the stocks in his free time, making him a fortune, making him way more money than the stock options with the employers went. So really interesting story here.
Hey, we plateaued. We can't break free. What's the
work isn't fixing that.
What's dissatisfying is to see the Elon Musks or the Mark Zuckerbergs, of the world have extraordinary success, and you grow up in that generation and you feel like you hit the wall. They launched the Instagram, they launched the Facebook, they launched the electric car, and you somehow have created this. It's a successful business, but it's now a low growth business, which is, comparable.
Why do you think that ground at you? Because by many indices, you were multidimensionally successful already. Now, you talked about the fact that the big league leap, so to speak, didn't occur. But why in the world do you think that particularly disturbed you and drove you to seek other avenues of expansion?
I just thought, is this all there is? There's got to be more. I wanted to change the world. When you start and you think you can change the world, and you get to some point where you realize you fulfill 2% of the demand of a given niche of the world, which has now become a mature cash cow business, and the world's done with you.
Do you have any idea where that ambition came from?
Must have come from my mother. When I was, my first job was as a paper boy. And, so I'm delivering papers in Dayton, Ohio, through the bitter cold, the blizzard of 78. And at some point, there's going to be a competition for the best paper boy at the Dayton Daily News. And my mother enters me in the competition. And, she creates this book of entries. I'm the musician. I've got the book collection. I'm the gamer. I'm a this, I'm a that. And I swear she must have thought I was God's gift, and it never occurs to me that being, the number one honor paper boy in Dayton, Ohio, isn't necessarily the pinnacle of achievement.
but in her eyes it was. And she entered me in the competition, and I ended up number
She had
two.
faith in you.
But I thought, she thought I was the greatest person on earth. She's like,
I love hearing him talk about also those things and really getting deeper on his message, on his motivation. But it showed that he built strategy back then, MicroStrategy, and it was huge. Like it was if you think about you creating this company and having all the success, like you have it in life, I see that with a lot of successful people. Actually, they never feel like they have enough. They always feel like there is more. Like, isn't there like more to it? And isn't there like a better thing towards that? And Saylor really is one of those people of like, there has to be more. And I've never seen such a disciplined man. I was at this 100K party, and I interviewed him. He's extremely straightforward, extremely disciplined, and very, very focused and straightforward with all of his doings. And so you can see, and he also got humbled, like strategy was like, he was on this Forbes list and on the cover, and he was celebrated in the .com bubble, and he was really huge. And all of a sudden, it crashed down. I can show you this, guys. This is interesting. Let me see. MSTR stock. Do we see that on Google? Let me see. Exactly. Yeah. This is what I wanted to show you guys. This was strategy back then, MicroStrategy. It traded around like $11, $20, $30, $10 in 1998, 1999. And all of a sudden it like shot up from $11 to oh gosh, now we have to hit the peak there at like $300. And so it completely shot up like crazy. And then it crashed down. And so Saylor actually went through being the top of the mountain, the top of the spear with all those big people and all those great leaders, and then completely drowning, and then having to work through like years and decades of nothingness of the strategy stock. I mean, of course it did something, but not a lot, as he also described, and then having a moment with Bitcoin again. And this moment of Bitcoin, he's a lot smarter, I think, and he's a lot more calculated with those things. And so that's why he's not big in leverage. That's why he's, even if Bitcoin turns down for a long time, strategy is still good. But now back to the video. We have about a minute left.
you're going to change the world.
Freud's mother thought that about him, and he said that it had given him a tremendous advantage. You know, it's really something to have a parent who has like unblinking faith in you, especially if they've actually identified those elements of you that are useful.
I was a smart guy. Like I was like number one in my class normally, but being number one in your class in the public elementary school in Middle Ohio is no statistical justification for thinking someone's going to grow up and change the world. But my mother believed it. She believed in me. She imbued it in me. And for whatever, if your parents think that about you, they program you and it works. So somehow in my head, I was programmed at an early age,
Believe that you could do it.
By an inspirational figure to believe I could do it.
Do you think that was ambition exactly? Or do you think that was faith in your ability to solve problems? Because those aren't the same thing, right? I mean, you could imagine a situation like that would produce someone who is narcissistic. That's a very different outcome than someone who believes that if they hit a problem hard enough, they can crack it and move forward.
If you combine the influence of my parents and my mother, especially with my father, is a very inspirational figure as well. But he's like he's the Air Force sergeant, at 6:30 in the morning saying, "Hit the ground running, son."
Okay.
He was
so that's the work ethic.
He was the work ethic.
Okay.
Straight arrow, work hard, and do your job and do your duty. And my mother was, I have the smartest son in the world.
This is so fun. I wanted to show you this guy because we are doing something huge with Bitcoin. Like if you think about what we have planned with Bitcoin is no less than completely eliminating central banks, completely overthrowing the current financial system. This is a huge thing if we're actually successful with that. And we need to believe in that. We need to actually see the world in our eyes, how it can be on a Bitcoin standard. That's why I'm telling you guys, figure out a way how to earn in Bitcoin, figure out a way how to spend in Bitcoin, figure out a way how to live as close to Bitcoin standard as possible, because then you feel like it's actually possible. It's actually doable. And this is huge. This is really, really huge if you can figure this out. So that's really, really cool. And I wanted to leave you with like a little bit of a different message, but from a known messenger, Saylor, because I think it's really important to be motivated, to strive to be the best. And I think Bitcoin is the best, and we have to defend it. We have to fight for it, and we have to really make it as big as it can be. So now let's see if there's anything else interesting in the comment. This is actually, that is quite beautiful. A mother's faith in her son. It's probably the best faith you can have. A drill sergeant as a dad, and a faithful, loving mother, something like that as Saylor had. That's awesome. If Saylor picks you as his hire, Robin, you will have to rename the company CyberSecurity. I don't think I have. I don't think I want to work for strategy, and I don't think that he will pick me as a hire. And I would maybe I have to found a small company in Austria, the CyberSecurity, the Robin strategy. I like my first name more, but I'm proud of my last name also. It's just that most people say Zero when they actually should have say Saya. But yeah, I enjoyed your speech on stage. Oh, I guess you're talking about Amsterdam. You giant. Yes, I'm huge. With that, I want to say to all of you, thank you so much for showing up in the live stream. I didn't intend to do that, but live streaming will be a huge part of this channel. This is really, 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 really good to this interaction that we have, this close relationship, and I enjoy it so much. I did it. The first one was just like, oh, let's try it out. But I enjoy live streaming with all of you so much that I'm currently in the mix of working towards a live stream only channel. So we have still the interviews, the podcast, all of that. But why not do everything live? Like, isn't that exciting? Like having you guys here with me and directly with the guest, and just like working through topics, and we can put questions on you. We can talk about it, and then it's less about just like me and the guest, but also about the audience, about the community. I freaking love that, and so there's something huge coming in 2026 on this channel. So stay tuned, and I'm really, really looking forward to next year, because it will be a huge year for Bitcoin, and I think a huge year for the Bitcoin community. So thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening to this. And I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Oh, no, sorry, not tomorrow. I will be back tomorrow with another podcast episode, and I will be back next week, Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time or 5 p.m. Central European Time, with another live stream. Bye-bye. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.